My landlord is charging me over $6,000 because he is claiming that I am using illicit substances in the apartment. So I gave them a letter from my attorney. I moved out of my apartment on June 30th after 2 years. I checked my resident portal yesterday and saw that they have charged me over $5,000 for meth remediation, along with about $1,500 in other replacement charges related to the remediation, painting, carpet, etc. I was shocked considering I never used substances in the apartment. I drove to the complex to speak to the on-site manager, and she told me that when they did the final walkthrough, which I requested to be a part of but was not contacted about, it's not legally required here, there was suspicion of substance use. However, the document provided to me of my final notice has an images for charges section and they did not attach any images. They performed a contamination test and the test was positive, so they hired a company that came to the property and did remediation of my unit only. Supposedly, she couldn't give me any documents to show any of this. Some other possibly notable info. About a month before I moved out, the tenants below me were arrested and charged with meth trafficking. They had, interesting, visitors at all hours of the day and night, and I assumed they were using in her apartment as well based on her behaviors that I observed. They placed the charges on my account on July 18th, and immediately wrote them off the same day and transferred them to a collection agency. They have not told me who the collection agency is and nobody has contacted me about it, but I assume someone will call me eventually to demand that money. I asked her to provide me with the results of the contamination test that was performed before I moved into the unit, and she said there was not a test performed at that time. I don't believe they have ever tested the unit before now. The information that I was able to find from reputable government websites, US and AU, claim that meth residue stays on surfaces for at least 5 years, probably longer, but that's the longest study they've done. I have not received any sort of communication from them since 6/1, a receipt for my rent. I have never had any issues on my end with them. They have overcharged me for rent twice and refused a refund both times, saying it's not possible with their system. They also forgot to sign my new lease until weeks after I did my signatures when I renewed last year, which I found out after being yelled at by the manager for asking why I was charged a month-to-month fee. I have screenshots of parts of the lease that I think are relevant to this situation if anyone is interested. I have reached out to the Idaho State Bar for a referral to a tenant lawyer because the tenant/landlord lawyers I found on Google don't accept tenant cases. Would it be better to pay the fees in full than sue the owner for damages? I don't want this to affect my credit or my future rental prospects. An hour later, update 1. I just received an email from the property management that says the collection agency is charging me daily interest, and that if I pay them immediately for the full amount they will remove the interest fees that have accrued from 7/18 to now. She also gave me the name of the collection agency that has my account, which I was never provided with until this point, so I'm going to call them and let them know that I am disputing the charges. Update 2. I sent an email to the property management requesting the following documents. Photos taken at the final walkthrough along with notes that document whatever issue constituted a contamination test to be done on the unit. A copy of the contamination test done on my unit, both before and after my occupancy, and a copy of the one done on the unit directly below mine. A copy of the invoice from the company that provided the meth remediation. A copy of the invoice from the company that provided the contamination test. A copy of the notes from my pre-move out walkthrough that I did with the maintenance technician, detailing the issues we discussed during the walkthrough on June 3, 2024. Property management said that they are not required to provide any of that to me because it's now the collection agency handling the debt. As I noted in my original post, they posted the charge to my account on July 18th then immediately changed it to say transferred to collection agency. I assumed so that I wouldn't have the opportunity to get documentation from them. I called the collection agency. They said they have no record of my account. Property management still refusing to give me any documents. Update 4. 3 months 6 days later. This property management company is one of the largest in my area and manages thousands of units here and in other states. It's not a dinky setup, so they should definitely know better. I did not pay the fees in order to sue, as I had originally thought could be the best course of action. Thank you all for the clear no on that one lol. As mentioned in the post, I emailed the property management company on August 2nd requesting a list of documents, invoice, contamination test results, etc., and as of today, I have not received one single document from them. You all were right, they never sent me to collections. They were lying to try and get me to pay the fees immediately. One commenter recommended that I send an open records request to my city's police department. I followed this advice and having that from my attorney from the get-go was so helpful. Thank you. Finally, the outcome of my situation. I got 2 referrals from the Idaho State Bar Association and neither one of them ever reached out to me again after the initial contact where I explained my situation. I contacted 40+ attorneys trying to find someone to help me, and of those, 3 offered to help me. I had put together an organized binder of all important info and documents, leases, emails, arrest records, etc. 2 of the 3 attorneys refused to even glance over any of these documents or listen to the full situation in our 10-minute consultation. Phone calls, said they would just call the property management company and tell them to remove the charges and wanted to charge me flat fees of $1,200/$1,500 to make the calls. Finally, 3 days before the charges were set to be actually sent to collections, I found my current attorney. She doesn't advertise handling landlord/tenant cases. She is a rather expensive, highly sought-after civil and criminal attorney, but I was desperately leaving voicemails for every attorney in town at this point and I told her I'd pay whatever her fee was to just hear my situation. It was a Sunday and she came into the office to meet with me anyway, in person. Our consultation lasted 3 hours. I cried many times, and she got increasingly angry at the actions of the property management company. She reviewed everything I'd gathered, and sent a demand letter to the property management the next day, referencing many of the documents I'd provided. Side note, the last sentence of the demand letter was along the lines of, if you'd like to get into contact with the person who actually owes you this money, here is the contact info for the person you should reach out to at the jail. Because it certainly is not the responsibility of my client. The letter also demanded that I actually be refunded about 2/3 of my deposit and prevented them from being able to send me to collections. About a week later, I received a phone call from my attorney informing me that the company had removed all the charges from my account and I would be receiving the check for my refund in the mail within 10 days. And that's exactly what happened. And she only charged me a $300 flat fee for everything, even though her normal fee is $700 per hour. So that's it.